Good evening, everyone. May I call us all to a meditative thought to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is held in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The news media has been notified, and a copy of the agenda has been made available to the public. This meeting is open to the public, and the public is welcome to attend in person. All persons wishing to attend the meeting by virtual means may do so via YouTube, Sumter School District Board meetings, and Sumter School District Facebook page. Our vision: Sumter School District is committed to educating, empowering, and enriching the lives of all students to reach their full potential. And our mission: Sumter School District is committed to providing a safe, nurturing, high-quality educational environment that supports diversity and equips students for local and global success. I'm Ralph Canty. I represent Area 5 and I serve as chair. To my right is Bonnie S. Disney, who represents Area 9 and serves as our vice chair. To my left is Sean T. Reagan, represents Area 5, who serves as our clerk. Sherry White represents Area 7, serves as our parliamentarian. However, because of illness in the family, she is unable to be present tonight, but will be joining us by virtual means. Ms. White, please know that our prayers are with you and with your beloved husband. Daniel Palumbo represents Area 1, Brittany English, Area 2, Tara Kaiser Johnson, Area 4, Matthew McLeod, Area 6, Jeff Zell, Area 8, and Tech Sergeant Kirsten Weidman is our Shore Air Force Base representative. Our superintendent is Dr. William T. Wright, Jr., and the administrative manager to the superintendent and the board is Ms. Shante Scott. I'd like to call this meeting to order, but as I call it to order, I'd like to send out an official, I pray that my board will join me with this official shout out to Alice Drive Elementary School, is designated a school of excellence. Hillcrest Middle School, designated as a good school, and Alice Drive Middle School, also a good school, and an honorable mention to those schools that almost made it, but came just a little bit short. Yes, 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 yes. The agenda is before you for your approval. If there are no objections, it shall stand approved. Hearing none, the agenda stands approved. We have special presentation at this time, 3.1 South Carolina Ready Perfect Scores, Spring 2023.
Chairman Canty, Vice Chairman Disney, members of the board and community. It's very exciting to be before you once again this year. We actually have a 54% increase on our SC Ready now that we can release that information. This is grades 3 through 8, and it just happens to be that all our perfect scores this year are in the area of mathematics. So at this time, we have moved from 7 perfect scores to 13. So unfortunately, we have a couple that were not able to be here, but we want to recognize those that are for this monumental accomplishment. This is very difficult to get a perfect score on this test because it goes well above the grade level standard.
All right, good evening. We're going to start with our first recipient coming from Alice Drive Middle School, Andrew Miller. Our next recipient comes from Croswell Drive Elementary School, Dominique Hasty. Next, from High Hills Elementary, we have Carly Caraway. Next, from Hillcrest Middle School, we have Jaden Robinson. Also from Hillcrest Middle School, we have Anthony Kiggins. Also from Hillcrest Middle School, we have Kayla Smith. And our last recipient comes from High Hills Elementary, and this goes to Luke Thompson. Thank you.
Give you a round of applause, all right? Okay, members of the board, we have 5 persons who have signed up to speak before us tonight. And I officially close the sign up at this point. So it's just this 5. What is your pleasure on the time limit on the 5?
Keep it at normal. Normal 3 minutes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Anyone disagrees with that? Okay, all right. Before we do that, allow me to read a portion of this policy BEDH, to the board and to those of you who have come. Just segments of the policy. Board meetings are not public forum meetings, but are meetings held in public. Orderly conduct of a meeting does not permit spontaneous discussion from the audience. All persons who wish to participate must do so through established procedures. While public comments about board actions will be permitted, the board will not permit in public session any expression of personal complaints about school personnel nor against any person connected with the school system. Speakers may offer objective comments on school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit in public session any expression of personal complaints about individual school personnel or any other person connected with the school system. With that in mind, we welcome those of you who will speak to us tonight. And we will begin with Dr. Patty Wilson.
I would like to take this opportunity personally to thank Dr. Myers, if I'm permitted to speak his name, for taking the opportunity to work with getting the school situated and getting the I guess I can say it, getting the dietary department situated with the school. He did a magnificent job over there putting that system together, as well as getting the yard taken care of, and it's looking very well over there. And I wanted to thank him for his support and for taking care of it in a timely manner. The other thing I wanted to say is that there was an article that I read in the paper about our school, and it addressed some things that was very perplexed and not very desirous of me when I read it. It talked about the R.E. Davis situation. So I wanted to say that it was not very, I would say very, I would say very nice about our school system. So in the future, I would hope that if we have concerns that we would bring it to the board and address it here at our board meeting or with our board members. And the last thing I wanted to say is I worked with board members as you went through your election process. It didn't matter whether you were what you were. You were, it didn't matter to me. You asked me for my help, and I gave it. And of course, it's coming up again. And because of how you work with our kids, it will determine whether you will get my support in your next upcoming election. Thank you.
Mrs. Williams, Sarah Williams.
Mr. Chairman and Board, within the past couple of weeks, I have received many phone calls, but just a few things that touch that I'm going to address tonight, which is quite a few alumni from Maywood High School have contacted me about the concern out there, and they're planning some things that they're going to be heading because they don't like the situation and the stuff that has been said about R.E. Davis and the Maywood field. Number two, the discipline with the black kids in our school district is at a much higher rate than with the counterparts. And when we talk about tax dollars, do know military retirees in South Carolina are exempted from state income tax. So when we talk about that money as tax dollars, it is taxpayers' money. Military retirees are exempted from that. And we complain about the test scores, but yet you will not hire qualified teachers. Now, if you were worrying about that money with R.E. Davis and you was going to use that to hire and give qualified teacher incentives, the whole community would be all behind that because we need that. Last but not least, I hope some of you guys can take your name tags with you because we are the community. I spent numerous hours supporting some of you guys. Missed my anniversary, missed my birthday because we were out campaigning for what we thought was going to be a good school board, but yet we end up with chaos. We, and I say we because a lot of community people have reached out to me. I am very, very well known in the Sumter community. My character speaks for itself. My reputation is merely what you guys think of me. I hope you can take your name tags with you. That's all.
Mr. Keith Schultz.
How are you, Mr. Superintendent? Board members? Let's talk about education efficiency in South Carolina schools. How are we doing? Are we any further away from the corridor of shame, or are we closer? That's what it's all about, education. So I have a few direct questions for the district, and I hope somebody will respond in letter format other than the district employee whose job it is to respond for the board chairman. I'd like to hear these answers. Here we go. On average, how many times does a guidance counselor meet with a student over his high school career? I'll take odds and say the number's no greater than 3. What measuring stick or matrix do we have in place to monitor and track our success or lack thereof of the following positions? Curriculum coaches, reading interventionists, ELA, and guidance counselors. And also, for informational purposes, what is the overall district staffing numbers tonight versus what they were 4 years ago when we had 16,000 students, give or take, and now we got 14, give or take. I think I'm right. Might be 14 and 12, but it's about 2,000 less. Moving forward. Still got a minute and 18. Let's see. Has the district reduced its staff proportionally as our student population? I bet I know the answer to that one too. And also, what do we need to do in here to provide a more suitable venue for the folks that want to come to these meetings? Because I assure you, our folks are building right on up. I'm part of an educational group that wants to make darn sure we improve education in Sumter County and not move farther backwards. Okay, in closing, change is inevitable. How you respond to it determines your success, whether it's positive or it's negative. Deal with reality and take action before it's too late, as I fear it already is. And thank you for what you're doing.
Mr. Schultz. Mr. Victor Sosu. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce your name correctly.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Salcedo. My main thing was, and I think we had a meeting where the superintendent showed up, and I asked this question, and I was given the answer that it typically takes about 45 days to know the answer. With Liberty Steam picking up as a charter school, I've spoken to some administrators, some of the private schools, and they have seen an uptick in enrollments. So after 45 days of school starting, what is the disenrollment rate in the public schools? Not counting charter schools, because I know that falls under the public school scope, but that's completely different than our public schools. So my question for the board is, what is the disenrollment rate for our public schools? Because the way I've seen it, based on people that I've talked to, including administrators of some schools, they've seen an uptick in new enrollments. Some members of the military here at Shaw rather send their students to Kershaw or Lee or put them in private schools. So if there is an increase in disenrollments and a decrease in new enrollments in the public school system here in Sumter, is the board identifying the reason of why? If we're losing students to competition, is the school board and the district finding out why, or are we just letting it happen? And that's really just my question. Thank you very much.
Mr. Riley?
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. On the mission statement, the safety part, I'd just like to raise one issue or one concern or put it back up on the forefront of all of your minds. And that is school safety and security. It is one of, if not the most important function of the board and the district is to make sure that there's a safe environment and resources are allocated accordingly to make sure that it is safe and stays safe. Different levels of schools have different needs, and you guys have a lot more expertise in that than I do, but I've talked to maybe 10 or 15 school resource officers in the last month and a half, and every one of them has said the same thing, that high schools need 2 SROs. Each one of them needs 2. That's 6 total. My understanding is Crestwood didn't have any for a little while because the guy got sick, and we just are short in that capacity according to what the SROs are saying. I'm sure you guys have insight into that. And the other schools should have 1, and there should be some mobile resources that can go around and fill, and you should have enough people that if somebody gets sick that you have people to backfill. I think our school system falls short in that capacity. So who's in charge of the safety of the schools? All right, so I asked that question a week ago, and my understanding was the district hired a person to do school safety. That person then deployed. You can't stop that, but did you do anything to backfill it, or did the whole thing just stop right there, waiting for him to come back? And my understanding he's been gone for 6 to 8 months. No idea when he's coming back, and you don't have anybody in that position right now. That's my understanding. It may not be correct, so I'm not stating it as an absolute fact. That's just the understanding of what I've gotten feedback from the SROs. So who is or isn't doing that job in the district is something that you all should address. Is there a plan? Is there a school plan? I mean, you guys have a plan if something happens? Who does what? Who goes where? I mean, do each of you have a written plan that said, hey, we just had an event at a school. What am I supposed to do? Do you each have a position and a plan, and do you ever exercise that plan? In the military, we exercise things all the time to make sure that they work, to make sure they're functional, and to correct them and update them if needed. Is there training? My understanding is there's not a whole lot of training. There's not a lot of live training at all, or, to go through these processes. What we can't afford to do is be caught unprepared. Uvalde and Nashville both kind of explicitly laid that out, that you can't be unprepared. You can be overprepared, but you can't be unprepared. That's kids' lives. That's all of what you guys are doing is to keep them safe. It's in your mission statement. You guys should be addressing it and addressing it aggressively. 3, 2, 1. Thank you for your time.
Item 5, board communications, announcements.
Mr. Chair, I don't have an announcement, but I wanted to share that I did attend the Risky Business Conference that was held, I believe, October the 4th through the 6th in Hilton Head. And I don't have a thorough report tonight, but I do have some information I can share with this board at a later time concerning the information there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I would like to acknowledge our school board for our participation in the Teacher Appreciation event that was held last week at the South Hope Center. We were able to, those of us who were able to attend, were able to engage with the staff that was there, the teachers and other staff that were there. So we will continue to try to make certain that we are putting forth efforts to be a part of teacher appreciation.
Okay. Any others? All right. Committee reports.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to give a short committee report for the Curriculum Assessment Committee. And if you are interested, it is on, you may go and find it under YouTube or the district website and get the full information. But we did talk about 3 major things, 3 major changes that the education, the EOC has has decided that all schools have to abide by this coming year. And that 2 of them are for high schools, the on track to graduate merit for all high schools. In other words, the high school students in 9th grade need to have 6 subjects, and that includes English and math. Another high school requirement is for the 5-year student success metric, and I think that's actually beneficial to us because it should increase our high school scoring anyway, because high school will have 5 years. They will be able to count 5 years instead of just the 4 years for a student. And the last thing is called the added value growth metric, and that's for elementary and middle schools. And that's going to change the scoring just a little bit. The other thing we were able to talk about, we had a parent, I think, contacted 2 of us in regards to what's going on in the middle school, some of the programs, and we had a full explanation for ELA, and it talked about the Common Lit 360. Dr. Emily Kempton talked about that. And for mathematics, Ms. Carla King talked about Math Nation. And then we also had a full report from Mr. Phillips for the science and Open Sci Ed. And that is all recorded if you care to listen to it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make one quick comment, if you don't mind. So I attended the E-STEAM Festival last week, and I just want to say hats off to all our participants. We had, a lot of our schools showed up and put on excellent displays, and it just goes to show that good things are happening in this district. People are proud of this school district, and I hope that we understand that. Are we where we need to be? No. Are we getting there? I do believe so. And I think that we all need to be bold in our decision making, and hats off to everybody who participated in that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, on the Finance Committee, we'll have one in the future, but this is more that Dr. Reagan and I will have our finance facility committee plan on the future state of the school districts on. We're going to have our meeting on October 25th to have our joint meeting to get prepared for the future schools and the way ahead forward.
Okay, okay. All right. Are there any others? All right. If there are no others, I have a few appointments to make tonight. I want to ask Ms. Bonnie Disney to represent us on with the foundation group.
Happy to.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Palumbo. What? Yes. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, you all can't hear me? Oh, excuse me. Foundation, Bonnie Disney. County Council Liaison, Dan Palumbo. Legislative Liaison, Sean Reagan. Ad hoc Committee on Master Plan that you just referred to, Sean Reagan, Matthew McLeod, Ray Goodman on the facility side, Dan Palumbo, Tara Johnson, Jeff Zell on the finance side, Lamar Atkins, Dexter Davis, and Louis Tisdale on the public side. That will give us a 9-person committee, okay? And finally, I want to ask Ms. Johnson to serve on the CIA committee. I want to appoint you to serve on the CIA committee. And then I want to ask the board to consider merging the Fine Arts Committee with the CIA committee, with fine arts being a division, a department, or a standing committee under CIA, and of course then Ms. White could develop the policy to make that happen. That would be my recommendation as we go forward. Any conversation?
Do we need to make a motion?
No.
Okay,
No.
all right.
Okay. But if you had any, if anyone disagrees with it, then tell me and we can do something else. I want to be working with you guys and not against you. Yeah. Hopefully we all work together on this, okay? Thank you very much. Item 6, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Let's try that again. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Trustees. All right. This is the around the district for October 16, 2023. This month is National Principals Month, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our world-class educators who lead our schools every day.
As our principals, they shape the lives of students and staff by providing opportunities for growth and success. While we haven't gotten it all right, things are actually getting better in Sumter School District. During the month of October, we are also celebrating our building services team, coaches, teachers, and physical therapists. We are forever grateful for their impact, leadership, hard work, and dedication. Over 300 students from across the PD and coastal regions of South Carolina auditioned for limited seating in the SCMEA Region 5 Orchestra. 41 Sumter High School students and 5 Bates Middle School students earned a placement in this prestigious ensemble. These students will then have the opportunity to audition for the SCMEA All-State Orchestra in January. The Sumter County Fair's art show kicked off this afternoon with an open house featuring exceptional artwork from Sumter School District's Shining Stars. Make sure to check out our talented artists at the Fair Office Building located at 30 South Artillery Drive. Just left there just prior to coming to this board meeting. If you have an opportunity to go by there, you'll see some amazing work done by our students. We'd like for you to join the Sumter School District for a Pink Out Day in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Bullying Prevention Month, and Relay for Life. We ask that you wear pink on Wednesday, October 18th, and make sure to tag us on our social media page. The Sumter High School International Baccalaureate students, in collaboration with the YWCA, are hosting the annual Walk Against Domestic Violence Saturday, October 21st at 9 a.m. beginning at the new courthouse. They're asking that we wear purple for that occasion and join our students for a 1-mile walk that will conclude at the former courthouse. Friday, October 20th from 5 to 7 p.m., our Title I schools are hosting a drive-through event at Donald Crawley Stadium. Please join us as we hand out Halloween treats to our students. Many of you have been asking about the effectiveness of our code of conduct and how it's working and so forth and so on. So I want to tell you that I asked our staff to prepare some information, and despite what we might hear, fighting in our district has decreased 46% for the first 45 days of the school year. Doesn't mean that things are perfect, but they're headed in the right direction. And Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Trustees, that concludes my around the district.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. At this time, I'd like to ask our Executive Director of Academics, Dr. Jada McLeod, and Dr. Lamont Moore to come forward to talk about 2022-2023 test scores now that we have the whole picture. Get ready, Mr. Mills.
We changed things just slightly because some of the test data, as it was released, we were providing the information. And as Dr. Bright alluded to, we do have a long way to go, but we do have quite a few things to celebrate. So it's very important that we celebrate the improvements as they occur, just like we do in the classrooms. We always tell the teachers to celebrate the small wins with the students to get to the big wins. So we are on the right track. So Dr. Moore, if you want to go ahead and start.
And good evening again, everyone. So tonight we want to provide a overview of our district report card. This is to complement the presentation we did last month regarding student achievement data. So we'll take a look at several of the applicable report card indicators and view summaries that capture how our school and district performed in the 2022-2023 school year. And Ms. Scott, we're ready. And we did make some changes to the presentation, so I want to make sure we have the correct one. But we always start with our vision and mission. Of course, we're familiar with these statements. We acknowledge these statements. This is what drives and guides our efforts in every aspect in our work in schools. All right, let's take a look at the next slide. These are the components of the district report card. As you can see, there are 10 components that relate to academics and 4 components that relate to school environment. For tonight's presentation, we are going to focus on 7 of the academic components and 1 of the school environment components. So starting with academic achievement, remember, academic achievement refers to the achievement of students or the performance of students in the subject areas of mathematics and English language arts. This captures South Carolina Ready in ELA and math and EOC for English 2 and Algebra 1. And schools can earn up to 35 out of 100 points in this category. And so we're going to pause because we're going to switch to a different slide deck, Ms. Scott. If you go back, there's a different link that will give the summary for this. Yes, so the link that we shared, if you pull that presentation up, it'll have the updated slides. Yes, it'll be in the email that we sent out. It should be the same link. We just made a few changes. And I apologize for this pause. A lot of the information we had in the original presentation is information that we have already shared, so we did not want to be redundant. So we made a few tweaks to honor the board's time. So just give us a few minutes. We'll switch out the slide decks, and then we'll move forward. All right, so thank you, Ms. Scott, and thank you for your patience. So on the slide, you'll see a summary. For each of the indicators, schools are given and districts are given a rating. And so the first chart, you'll see the ratings. On the far right or far left column, you'll see excellent, good, average, below average, and unsatisfactory. We wanted to make a comparison to where we were in 2022 to where we are in 2023. This summary is only for the academic achievement component. As you can see, in 2022, we had 3 schools that received an average rating in academic achievement. In 2023, we have 6 schools that received average and 1 school that received good. 2022, we had 7 schools that received below average in academic achievement. In 2023, we have 9 schools that received that rating. In 2022, we had 13 schools that received unsatisfactory in academic achievement. In 2023, we have we only had 6 schools to receive that rating. At the bottom of this, you'll see the amount of schools that earned more points in this category. And in this category, schools can earn up to 35 points. So we had 11 elementary schools that earned more points in this category when compared to 2022, 3 middle schools, and 1 high school. We also had some schools that moved up to a higher rating from 2022. So in 2023, we had 7 elementary schools that moved from 1 rating to a higher rating, 3 middle schools, and 1 high schools. So again, this is just for the academic achievement component.
In addition, average doesn't sound that great, but average is where the state expectation is for our students to meet the standard according to the profile of the South Carolina student. That is the state expectation, is that average or above. So that we want to shoot past that goal, but that is the expectation of the state.
All right, the next category or component we'll look at is preparing for success. And remember, preparing for success looks at the subject areas of science and social studies. This captures South Carolina Ready, science, and the end of course U.S. History and Constitution and Biology 1. Schools can earn up to 10 out of 100 points in this category. So the same format is here. You have the chart that outlines the ratings and how many schools fell in those ratings for 2022, and you see the comparisons for 2023. We definitely want to highlight that we have, in 2022, we had 0 schools as designated as excellent for preparing for success. 2023, we have 1 school, 1 school for good, 2 for average, 8 for below average, and 12 for unsatisfactory in 2023. And you can see those comparisons to the year prior. We had 8 elementary schools that earned more points in this category compared to last year, 3 middle school and 3 high school, all 3 high schools. When you look at the amount of schools that moved up to a higher rating from 2022, we had 6 elementary schools to do this, 1 middle school, and 0 high schools. All right, our next component is multilingual learners' progress. And so we do want to provide a little bit more information for this component. Multilingual learners' progress refers to student performance in language acquisition or proficiency. So this is going to capture the access test results that we use to assess our students who are learning the language of English. And schools can earn up to 10 out of 10 points in this category if they test at least 20 students. We have several schools that don't test 20 students or fewer than 20 students, and so their data is not reflected in this. This is only the schools that have at least 20 multilingual learners who test with access. So as you can see on this slide, we are at 56.8% of our students that have met progress toward proficiency, compared to 53.3% across the state. So we're leading the state in this particular area. If you flip to the next slide, you'll see where we were 2018. In blue, these are the students who are proficient, who are making progress towards proficiency. In yellow, these are the students that are not proficient. And as you can see, we did take a dip after the pandemic. We made a huge gain in 2022 and a slight decline in 2023. Our next slide will give you a summary of how our schools did with this component. You'll see the same chart that shows where the number of schools that fell in each of the ratings for 2022 as compared to 2023. It's relatively the same. We did have one school that in 2022 they had at least 20 multilingual learners, but in 2023 they didn't. So they came out of this data collection, and you'll see that explains why it's fewer schools in 2023. Out of those schools, we had one elementary school that earned more points in this category compared to last year, and one high school. And we had one elementary school to move up to a higher rating from 2022. Our next component looks at student progress. And remember, student progress refers to students showing adequate growth in their scores when compared to their historical score data. This captures South Carolina Ready, ELA, and math, and only applies to elementary and middle schools. Schools can earn up to 35 or 40 out of 100 points in this category. And the next slide will show you where we were for 2023. This shows the overall percentage of points, progress points earned. So, of course, we can earn 35 points. Last year we earned 18 of those 35, which is 51.8%, compared to the state, 51.2%. So we're right in line with the state average for student progress or adequate growth of our students. The next slide will give you a summary. You want to?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's go back. I want to make another comment about
Yeah.
that.
This is one of the points that is going to change effective this year. We are moving from this to adding the added value model, and which not only looks at meeting their median target, but also those students that need to grow more. There's a measure for that also. And when we ran the metrics for that, that is actually, we are outperforming the state by quite a bit with that. All of our students in elementary, all of our schools were average or above in that metric. We had 4 that were excellent, 4 that were good, and the rest were average. We only had 1 that was not average or above, so not meeting the state expectation in middle schools. 2 were excellent, 3 were good. So that will definitely be a positive for Sumter School District, because we know our students need more growth. They need more than that median, which is a year's worth of growth. And so now the state has taken that into consideration across our state, that we need the median compared to everybody, but they also have to look at the comparison of the students to themselves and how much more growth they need to get to where they're going by the end of 8th grade to be ready for the high school.
All right, the next slide will show you just a summary of this component as well. Same basic format. You'll see the chart that compares 2022 to 2023. And it's important to note that in 2023 we do have 2 schools that received an excellent rating for student progress. The amount of schools that earned more points in this category, we had 4 elementary schools that earned more points in this category compared to last year, 4 middle schools. Now, of course, this doesn't apply to high schools. We had 4 elementary schools to move to a higher rating as compared to last year, and 1 middle school. Next, we'll take a look at the graduation rate. This is the 4-year graduation rate. And this slide will give you where we are, 77.1% for 2023, compared to the state average of 83.8%. You'll also see where we fell compared to the state starting in 2020 all the way up to last year, 2023. There's information regarding our annual dropout rate towards the bottom of this slide, as well as our dropout recovery rate and how it changed from last year. And if we flip to the next slide, it will give you a summary of this component. Where our 3 high schools fell, we had one receive the rating of good, one for average, and one for unsatisfactory. And this was very similar to where we were in 2022. One school did earn more points in this category compared to 2022. But we did not have any high schools to move up to a higher rating from 2022. Next, we'll look at college and career readiness. High schools can earn up to 25 out of 100 points in this particular area. This slide shows you where our district performs in 2023 compared to the state average. This looks at students in the graduation cohort who are college or career ready, not both, one or the other. 40.3% compared to the state average of 64.7%. And the next slide will give you a summary of college and career readiness. We didn't have any schools to earn more points in this category or any schools to move up to a higher rating from 2022. The last component we'll take a look at is a new component, and we talked about it in our CIA committee meeting, high school student success. And those are the 2 matrices that Ms. Disney talked about, the percent of first-year students on track to graduate and the 5-year student success rate. So these 2 indicators form this new component. For this year on the report card, it's only for informational purposes. It is not used in the calculations of our ratings for the report card. However, starting next year, it will be included in the calculations. So for this year, you'll see the information being reported, but not scored. The percentage of first-year students on track to graduate, remember this looks at the number of students in our current 10th graders who were 9th graders last year, who had taken at least 6 credit hours and having at least one of them in English and one in math. That represented 61% of those students were on track to graduate. The 5-year student success rate captures students who complete the requirements for graduation in a 5th year, and the state is now giving us credit for those students who needed that 5th year to complete the requirements. And for those students who were eligible for that, 80% of them completed within that 5th year for Sumter compared to the state averages, which you'll see in green on this particular slide. And just remember that this is for informational purposes only. Next year, it will start to become part of the calculations for district and school report cards. The next component is school climate. This looks at our perception surveys. Each year we send out surveys to our students, our teachers, staff members, parents. Elementary and middle schools can earn up to 10 out of 100 points in this category, and high schools can earn up to 5 out of 100 points in this category. And as a district, you'll see that out of those 10 points, 5.76 of those points were earned in our district report card, and you'll see the state average in green. This just looks at overall perceptions of school climate. So this is overall. On the school report card, there are other categories that will dig a little bit deeper into the school climate survey, and they have those same comparisons. But this gives you a high-level view of how our schools did on this particular survey. And if you look at the next slide, it'll give you a summary of our schools and where they fell in the ratings. So on the next slide, you'll see a chart similar to what you've seen before. Oh, did it get stuck? Okay.
Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Dr. McLeod, Dr. Moore, do we currently have any instructional coaches vacancies here in the district?
School level coaches, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And the ones that are present, they're inside of the schools frequently.
They're school-based.
So they're already there.
They are. And we pull them out and train with them once a month. A lot of them are fairly new coaches, last year, 2, 3, so we started coaching again, doing a coaching cycle, teaching coaching strategies, pushing in to assist, going back through data protocols with them, things like that.
Okay. And just for clarification, they're placed in middle, elementary, and high schools.
Elementary, middle, high schools have an administrator that's assigned curriculum and instruction duties.
You said middle,
High school.
high school. High school.
That's part of their assigned duties.
It's just to focus on instructions. That's what you're saying.
I guess so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. My question is, what is the process that we're using for remediation plan to look at improvements as we continue to move forward? Is it just at the school level and they roll up to the district, or is the district taking the lead on some of that?
It's a combination, along with the state. State's also involved. But we review it, and we are meeting with the principals monthly also, training with them, meeting with the, for the high schools, meeting with their counselors, because a lot of the accountability on the high school part is in the counseling department, in the career specialist department, tracking the students in those 9GRs to make sure that we are providing the correct guidance for them to ensure that they are becoming completers, they are taking the coursework that they need to ensure that they are getting the courses they need to be successful in college or career, whichever pathway that they're choosing. So we're doing a lot of training at all those different levels, and then doing team training. This is our second year, really focusing on that to make sure that we're tracking them appropriately. But we're going back several 9GRs, like these, until this year that we're starting, those tests were coming from 4 years ago.
Yeah, and with that being said, we know that it's going to take time to progress and catch up. But my other question is, as I think about career readiness, I know that we do what we do in terms of course offerings. We don't have we have limited students, I suppose, that can attend the Career Center. We don't have a career and technology school. But do we partner at all with businesses in the community to get our students engaged and involved in the workplace? And this would be outside of students just getting jobs on their own.
Yes, ma'am. We have workplace experiences that we are constantly partnering and looking for those, because they have to be a completer, have that workplace experience, and then have the agreement with that business to do the evaluation for the student to be the full completer for it also.
Are you able to share with us how many students we may have involved in?
I can get that information for you. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes?
I'm going to ask some questions because I do not see how the two interact, and so you'll have to help me understand. I know we have currently 3 categories of schools that we're working with: the priority school, the priority schools, the CSI, and the TSI. And I know that there are certain things being done to work with them. Now, is that tied closely to all of these things, or some of these things in our, what is expected for the quality schools?
Yes, ma'am. There are different tiers. CSI is your schools that are in the bottom 5% of Title I schools, and our high school that has a grad rate of lower than 70%. So there are tier 3 that we provide most support to. They are also the ones that the state is providing the most support. And then our priority is state identified, lowest 10%. And then we have the TSI or ATSI, and that is based on a specific population that is underperforming. And for us, it is our exceptional children.
So I'm going to assume, being the recipient of this extra help, I'm going to assume that we have a very good chance of doing particularly well next year. And the next year, it's because we're getting it from several sides, this help, aren't we? We're not just saying to that school, well, y'all just got to do better. Because it appears to me we're also getting state help.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're getting experts in the area. And I know that we also have the Title I money. For example, if we needed help with a specialist, I would assume we could put some money in there and help the schools again. So to me, it looks like there is some light in all of this because of all the help we're going to be getting this year through the state and whatever else, comes. Plus, I know the teachers are wanting to improve. I was questioning, maybe I shouldn't have, but I was questioning the principal of Alice Drive Elementary, and I was saying, what did your teachers do? What did this team do? And he really wants to share what he's doing. So my guess is, if we can take that information, the information from the State Department, that, all of us are on fire to do better, I would assume we're in a good position to have a bump in scores next year.
And we're building that sharing time into our meetings, not only with our principal and our leadership teams, but also within our instructional coaches, teams, and we have different cohorts depending on where they're at. We're trying to differentiate that also. And with our teacher leader teams, they're at different levels. We're trying to provide some differentiated professional development, both in content and in their levels of proficiency with technology and some different things like that, as not only to help them hone their craft, but also as a recruitment effort, to help them with what they feel they need, so that they're happy here, they feel they're getting what they need, and they're able to transfer that into the classroom.
And my understanding is we also have the ELA. This is what, the second year for the new standards?
This is the bridge year.
Yeah, this is the bridge year, so we should be getting stronger in that area, also with the science. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question. It's a kind of an extension of Ms. Disney's question. So thank you for the presentation. It tells us that some schools are doing, certainly moving in the right direction. I think it's, any intellectually honest person would say that this district is also moving that direction to whatever degree. Well, that's debatable. However, are we looking at, so we're highlighting the good. My question is, do we have a process, and this is kind of extension of Ms. Disney's question, do we have a process in place where we're looking back into those surveys, those climate survey type situations where, and looking at, do we have working groups that we're looking, I think I've heard that in your answer. And so I think it would be beneficial to, at some point, to have the board presented those sort of findings so we can help put things and move things out of the way or put resources in the right place where they need to go. So anyway, I just want to say thank you for that, and I am very interested in learning not just the good, but where we can improve as well. So it's more of a statement than a question. Thank you.
Okay. I have one or two questions. My first question is, what, as the academic leaders of this district, what is your assessment of where we are? I saw these graphs, but tell me, where are we? Where do you see us at this point as a district, academically? In terms of achievement, where are we?
I see us starting to move in the right direction, but I will say what I have been saying.
Well,
Until we have the teachers in the classrooms
that's terribly unfair to the students. Isn't that terribly unfair to the students that we would have children in our schools who don't have a chance of making it? Don't have a chance.
And they are doing everything they can.
It appears to me that, and I don't have the answer, but we ought to be doing something more creatively with all of these virtual means we have for educating people now to ensure that every one of our children are getting a better chance at getting an education. It seems totally unfair that one child will have a teacher in every class all year, and another child will go all year without a math teacher. And that has happened. That has happened. That's unfair to the child. It's unfair to that child's future. There needs to be some serious rethinking by this administration on how we do that.
Well, we're getting the virtual person in there, but we've learned that that's not the best mode of delivery for at least our students. It's just not. They need us in the classroom with them.
Yes, ma'am. And I know you are far more educated than me, and I have the utmost respect for you. I have the utmost respect. But something is better than nothing. Yeah. My second question is, we do every couple of years, every 5 years, a strategic plan. Looking at where we are tonight, how does our present status compare with our projections and proposals on our strategic plan? When have we revisited our strategic plan?
We update you on it every year. However, we discuss that all the time. We are not meeting our benchmarks yet, but we are addressing what's within our strategic plan.
I really think it would be critical for this board, because I don't think most of you are familiar with that strategic plan. I really think at a future meeting, as we continue this discussion about scores, that we ought to have some discussion about the strategic plan and line up the strategic plan with where we are academically at this time. See where we are and see what we need to do in order to push the plan that we have submitted to the state to say that we would get done in this district. And this board, not this board, but the board, signed off on that plan. It's our plan. And we should insist that that plan is on target. And if it's not on target, then we need to be talking about revisiting the plan and making adjustments to it. My next question, well, my next statement is, I guess I'm older. But I'm not apologizing for being older, but I am older. And because I'm older, all of these graphics just sort of fly over my head, and I sort of miss the point. When can we actually have a discussion about grades, actual grades of schools? When can we see what Furman School did, or Willow Drive School did. When can we see some actual numbers of the schools instead of just looking at a bar chart that just gives us some figures and says X about schools, but we don't have no idea about what schools we're talking about. I have that's too generic for me. I'm too old for that. I need something a little more down to earth, okay? So I would ask that we do that. Let's make this thing so we can see it, so everybody can see where we are. If we aren't where we ought to be, we just got to admit we aren't there until we get there. But we can't pretend like we aren't there. I'd also like to request that we compare our scores with our neighboring districts. How do we compare with Kershaw? How do we compare with Richland? How do we compare with Clarendon and Lee and Florence? We're sitting here as a board, and the only thing we're looking at is our scores. We have no idea how it relates to other districts and how effective we really are in what we say we're doing. And finally, would you all tell me what I guess the term I use is initiative, what initiative is driving our efforts to improve scores at the middle and high school level? What are we doing? What are the nuts and bolts of what we're doing to promote and push scores at the middle and high school level? Now, we've done better. We've done much better, I think, and I applaud that at the elementary level. Something good has taken place at the elementary level, and I thank you all for that. Are we doing the same thing now at the middle and the high school level? And if not, can we in any way emulate that model that we've got going at the elementary level so we can get our middle and high schools going to another level? I'll stop because I could talk about it another hour, but I won't, okay? Any responses?
It's just the re-engagement with the middle and high school. And that's where you're seeing the majority of your vacancies. We have put things in place. We're grateful we got as many international teachers this year. We have put together and worked with human resources to help support them. It is a transition for them to come in to work in our schools. So we're putting supports in place for them, but we don't have the type of vacancies in elementary like we do in our middle and high school. Especially in those maths and those sciences. That's where you're going to see the biggest impact.
Okay, all right. And when I'm raising my voice because they said they couldn't hear me earlier. I'm not raising it in another reason, okay? And I guess, so we'll have some more next month. When we get down to some actual schools and grades and compare some districts, I'd like to see that. I don't know where my board stands on that. What do you all know? Yeah, I think that's what we want. We want these graphs. We want something else.
Mr. Chair, may I, just clarification, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think if we were to be able to see kind of an internal self-assessment of what our schools are doing, strengths and weaknesses kind of thing, and then compare, I mean, that would give us it did at least give me a better idea of what schools sort of need, more focused energy and efforts, and what schools are performing well and why. The whys, I think, is what matters, and I think that's what kind of we're getting to, is how can this board help you all do that? And I think having that, putting it in front of us will answer some of those questions for us. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I totally 100% agree, especially seeing grades. If we have failing schools and they're getting a bunch of A's, and we compare it to our test results and they're a failing school, okay, why are they getting A's and B's? Are we telling them they're doing a great job, and then all of a sudden it comes down to a test and they fail, and because we're just giving them A's and B's? So yes, definitely I like to see that.
Okay, is there anything else tonight? If not, thank the both of you for the report, and and thank you in advance for next month's report, okay? God bless you. Okay, Mr. Superintendent?
In the interest of time, Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Trustees, we will proceed to item 6.3 and 6.4, General Fund Revenue and Expenditures Fiscal Year 2023 and General Fund Revenue and Expenditures Fiscal Year 2024, presented by Mrs. Shatika Spearman, our Chief Finance Officer.
Our claims, we're able to claim a portion of overhead per se, indirect cost per se, and we collected 1.7 million of that, and that represents 143% collection. So to date, based on our budget of 146,672,871 for fiscal year 23, we've collected 149,730,530 in revenue, which represents 102% overall collection for our general fund.
Okay.
For our expenditures, we've had some journal entries that we've had to move around. We've had some additional expenditures that came in related to the training project. And so as a total for our expenditures, we had a 91% spend on our expenditures. And so of course that does show that we have more revenue than expenditures for fiscal year 23 as of September 30th. And that looks right now at a $16 million fund balance to carry forward. And of course that same monies is what we've been using to exist from July, August, and September. This represents your fiscal year 23 to date general fund budget. As it relates to our current year, fiscal year 24, we collected about $1.5 million total local revenue, we collected 70.39% of what we estimated for fiscal year '24. For our state revenue, as you can see, we've only collected three parts of our monies. The transportation workers' compensation, we received $72,735. For our retiree insurance, we get that in 12 increments. So we're at about $1.2 million of that. And our state aid classroom, that also we collect in 12 increments. We're at $17.5 million. So for total state revenue, we collected about $18 million of our $122 million expectation, which represents a 15% collection. As far as our federal impact aids, we collected about $75,000 of that. We did lower that budget from $400,000 to $300,000 to ensure that we get a better estimate. That represents about a 25% collection in that as of now. And ironically, we're at 25% of the year gone for fiscal year '24. For any indirect cost transfers from our grants to our general fund for indirect costs, we collected about $5,892. To date, for fiscal year '24, we collected about 13.55% of our expected rate. As it relates to our expenditures, of course, our payroll has gone on for a couple months now. And we see some items that have come up that were unbudgeted, such as any Kelly Services payments for building service assistance. For one of our line items, we had some construction services for FJ's Lane building that we had to also purchase. We did some asphalt patchwork to several school parking lots to the tune of about $15,000. And then our payments to districts, these are transit, these are students that we have, our students being served in other districts, and we're paying for that based on proviso. We paid out about $8,266. And to date, we have total expenditures representing about 14.68%. That is very close to what we collected, and 15% on the previous page. If we were to end all operations for fiscal year '24 today, based on any estimates, we would have a negative fund balance of about $75,000 for fiscal year '24. Of course, based on the rate of our revenue collections and the way that our expenditures, at the rate that they're experienced, we know that that number will get greater near the end of the year. So this concludes the fiscal year '24 budget activity.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, question?
I don't think it's directly concerning this report, but I have a question about where do we find funding when it relates to the fine arts? How do we support the fine arts program in our schools? When I look on here, I don't typically see that there's a line item for fine arts in our schools across the district. But when I did some research, I did see where in the past we've allotted funds out of, I guess, bond money from 519, 520 that could go towards our arts program within the school. So could you kind of explain how they get their money and, you know, where the funding comes from?
Well, it is, this report is done by, for expenditure purposes, it's done by the object code. So fine arts expenditures, the salaries that may be pertaining to those, they're scattered throughout, depending on the object code, about the function of the expenditure. So I can work on pulling what that is out of this budget, if that what you would like, because it's mixed in. There's supplies, it's all mixed in, because this report is done by object code.
Okay, so for example, if the students at one of the high schools need uniforms or whatever, it's categorized based upon supplies that's inside of.
Yes, generally speaking, that's correct.
So is there a supply item on this particular expenditure sheet that I can look at to see where you can tell me where those items will come from on this, any of these line items right here?
Yes, 410, I would, without looking at the detail, their supplies would come out of that. And so we can, give any updates regarding that, and then there is an allocation for our bond. And we will be presenting the fall 2023 bond proposal, and that will also have an additional allocation for fine arts for this coming, bond. And
Okay.
we're gonna bring-
Okay, and is it, if they're in need, dire need of something in terms of the arts, is it suitable for this board to make a decision to transfer funds from one account to another account, for example, travel? Could we take funding from travel and put it where our students' needs are in terms of the arts inside of our schools, if they need uniforms or different things to support them?
Yes, but they do have an allocation, but that is a decision that we will make. Of course, that would, definitely impact the instruction teams that we have that have to go to certain travel that's funded by the general fund. Our grants, of course, have travel lines as well. So that would do a trickle effect, and so we would have to assess what that impact is. But if currently, if they have a need, we do have funding available. We can make suggestions on moving that funding. If it's earmarked for a certain thing in the bond, we can make, recommendations to move funding to get risers, whatever they may need, to do that. So we want to use the funding that they have allocated first.
Okay, and that's located where?
Well, that, is definitely located in the bond monies.
In the bond.
And remember, the last report showed that there was a lot of unused monies related to fine arts. And so then also, there are some, allocations, not as much, but allocations within the general fund to get things that they need, of course, certain salaries and what have you.
And you said the last bond fund that came up.
Yes, the, last one was the spring 2023, I'm sorry, 2023. I believe they had an no, the one before that, the fall 2022. They had a $200-something thousand allocation. We did skip the last one, this one in the spring, because we had some maintenance and, maintenance needs for that. But this upcoming bond for this current semester, fall 2023, we're going to be bringing that before you because we just received the funding from that through our county. And we're going to be making a recommendation, and they are up to be on this fall bond for an additional allocation.
Okay.
And we always consult with the academic team, the fine arts people on what they need, so we can bring that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Or, Ms. Spearman, I know Ms. Scott, and this is kind of deals with this. I think she sent your request for a breakdown of the power bill for each building from January to now, I guess. Can I get that, or actually share it to the whole board?
Oh, yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, is there anything further?
Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Trustees, that concludes the superintendent report
Mr.
items
Chairman,
for tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, and thank you, staff, so very much. All right. Item 7,
Mr. Chair, I move to move into executive session for discussion of individual student matters, transfers in and out of district, and the monthly personnel report, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, termination, and/or release of an employee discussed as they relate to technology and district security, and matters as they pertain to the superintendent's evaluation.
is it supported?
Mr. Chair, I second that.
The motion is supported that we enter into executive session for discussion of individual student matters, transfers in and out of the district, and the monthly personnel report, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, termination, and/or release of an employee, discussion as they relate to technology and district security and matters as they pertain to the superintendent's evaluation. I did that without my glasses. Hot dog. You heard the motion and it's second. All right. Yeah, okay. All right. We are now into executive session. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be gone for a while. I dare to say how long, but hope.
To make a motion to allow students A to attend school out of district for school year 23-24.
Okay, okay.
I second it.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, you may proceed to the vote.
Motion is unanimous, it passes.
Unanimous. Personnel report.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that this board approve the personnel report for Monday, October the 16th, 2023, as presented.
Mr. Chair, I second that motion.
Motion and second that the personnel report be received. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, you may proceed to the vote.
It is unanimous, it passes.
Okay. Vote passes unanimously. Policy GCLE, GCLE oral.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the second reading of policies GCLE and GCLER, unencumbered time for teachers.
Second.
Heard the motion and its second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, you may proceed to the vote.
Vote is unanimous, it passes.
All right, the vote is unanimous, okay? Is that it on the, okay. Item number 10, consent agenda. We'll have the approval of the consent agenda by consensus, or shall we vote?
No.
Consent, consent, all right, all right. There is, obviously, no discrepancies at all. Item number 11. Good night. The meeting is adjourned.
Ain't no way, ain't no way.